Hello students, this is Vishnu Tande and welcome to my class. Dear students, today we are going to learn 9th standard civics first chapter. What is democracy? Why democracy? In this class we are going to learn different definitions of democracy and features of the democracy. So let us start the class. So first and foremost, here we need to understand the origin of the word called democracy. The word democracy comes from the Greek word called demokratia. In Greek, demos means people, kratia means rule. So democracy means rule by the people. So the word democracy comes from the Greek word called demokratia. In Greek, demo means people and kratia means rule. So democracy means rule by the people. Whenever we remind the word called democracy, we always recall the greatest definitions of Abraham Lincoln. Democracy is government of the people, by the people and for the people. This famous quotation or definition we remind every time. So this is a definition given by Abraham Lincoln. Now let us have a simple definition about a democracy. So in simple definition, what does democracy mean? In simple definition, democracy is a form of government in which rulers are elected by the people. In a simple way, in a simple manner, if we give the definition of democracy, democracy is a form of government in which rulers are elected by the people. Means the representatives are directly elected by people. So this definition allows us to separate the democracy from other forms of government. This definition allows us to separate the democratic country to non-democratic countries. Now let us have a look over the non-democratic countries and condition of the non-democratic countries. So let us go through. Here the army rulers of Myanmar were not elected by the people. Those who happened to be in control of army became the rulers of the country. Here the army rulers, they were not elected by the people, and they became the rulers of the country because the country is under control of army. So in this type of non-democratic country, people do not have any rights. People do not have rights to say no towards the decision of the government. Even this applies to the monarchies. Here, the kings of Nepal, Saudi Arabia rule not because they have chosen by or elected by the people. So they rule the country because they are born in a royal family. So this simple definition: democracy is a form of government in which rulers are elected by the people. This simple definition is not adequate. Every country, most of the countries hold elections. It doesn't mean that the country which hold the elections are democratic. Not like that. Here we need to analyze the statement. Or definition. Democracy is a form of government in which rulers are elected by the people. We have to analyze by word to word. Then we can get the exact meaning of the broader meaning of the definition. Now students, let us learn the features of the democracy. Actually, the simple definition of democracy that in democracy is a form of government in which rulers are elected by the people. This definition raises the many questions. It raises the questions: who are the people? Who are the electors? Who are the rulers? So on. So now let us understand the features of the democratic countries or democracy. And here simultaneously we are going to learn features of democratic countries or democracy and non-democratic countries or in democracy, the major decisions are taken by the representative elected by the people. What happens in a non-democratic country? Let us go through an example of Pakistan. In Pakistan, General Pervez Musharraf led a military coup in October 1999. Military coup in the sense military revolution. So, in the month of October 1999, he started a military revolution and he overthrew the democratically elected government and proclaimed and he declared himself as the chief executive of the country. So, he started a military coup and he overthrew the government which was elected by democratically elected, and later on he declared himself as the chief executive of the country. Later on he changed his designation to the president. Then later on he called himself as the president of the country or president of Pakistan. In 2002 he held a referendum in the country that granted him a 5-year extension. So that referendum gave him a chance to rule the country for 5 more years. So what does referendum mean here? Referendum is a direct vote in which a whole electorate is asked either accept or reject the proposal. So here referendum is a direct vote in which the entire electorate is asked to either accept or reject the proposal. The proposal could be that maybe an adaptation of a new constitution or a new law or specific government policy. So here representatives are asked to either accept or refuse or reject it. So this is what called referendum. Pakistan medias, then democratic activists, then human rights organizations, they said that this referendum is based on fraud and malpractices. Later on, in the month of August 2002, General Pervez Musharraf, he issued a legal framework order that amended the constitution of Pakistan. So, legal framework order is an order that gave him in the sense that gave Pervez Musharraf the power to make the amendment to the constitution. So, this examination point, this is very important aspect. We need to go through the features of legal framework order. So, you may get a 3-mark question. What is legal framework order, or what did Pervez Musharraf did to gain the power in Pakistan? So here we need to go through one by one the features of legal framework order. So according to this order, the president can dismiss the provisional and national assemblies. So this particular order gave Pervez Musharraf the power to dismiss the provisional and national assemblies. So he got a power, Pervez Musharraf got a power by this legal framework order. Next, the work of the civilian cabinet is supervised by the organization called National Security Council. Basically, this was dominated by the military officers. So here, the work of the civilian cabinet was supervised by the council or an organization called National Security Council. So this council was basically dominated by the military officers. After passing this law, elections were held in Pakistan and people elected their representatives with a few powers, very little power, but final decision taking power rested in the hands with the military officers and Pervez Musharraf himself. Now, a very important a democracy. So we know that Pakistan is not a democratic country. So during the period of Pervez Musharraf, Pakistan should not be called as a democracy. Why? There are many reasons that Pakistan under Pervez Musharraf should not be called as a democracy. There are many reasons. One of such things is people may have elected their representatives to the national and provincial assemblies, but they were not really the rulers. So these actually in democracy, representatives rule the people. Representatives who elected by the people rule them. But here, even though the representatives have elected by the people, they were not the actual rulers. The rulers were military officers and Pervez Musharraf, who were not elected by the people. Next one, representative cannot take the final decisions. So we know that in democracy, final decisions are taken by the representatives who are elected by the people. But in Pakistan, these representatives who were elected by the people after passing the legal framework order, they could not take any decisions. And the power to take the final decision rested with the military officers and Pervez Musharraf, who were not elected by the people. So these are the reasons why Pakistan under Pervez Musharraf should not be called as a democracy. This is the answer for the question. Now, these happens in a monarchies and dictatorship government, where this kind of countries have elected parliament, elected government, but final decision taking power rested in the people, those who are not elected by the people. So this gives us the first feature of the democracy. So the democracy, the final decision making power must be rest with those elected by the people. So final decision taking power must rest in the hands of the people or representatives who are elected by the people. So this is the first feature of the democracy, that major decisions are taken by the elected representative. So let us move to the next one, next feature of the democracy. So let us go to the second one. Now let us learn about the second feature of the democracy, free and fair electoral competition. So as we know that free and fair elections are one of the features of the democracy. Now let us understand what happens in a non-democratic country and how does the election is conducted in non-democratic country. So in a non-democratic country, elections are free and fair. Are these elections conducted in a well way? So let us understand these conditions with the two instances. One is China and another is Mexico. So let us go with the China. In China, elections are held after every 5 years to elect the parliament, called as Congo Renmin Daibo Duai. So the parliament of China is called Congo Renmin Daibo Duai. So it is also known as the National People's Congress. The National People's Congress has the power to appoint the president of the nation. So here China has more than nearly 3,000 members elected from throughout all over the country, and some members are elected by the army. So this is the thing. So representatives are elected by the people. So here some members are elected by army itself. So now next, here before contesting an election, candidate needs to take approval from the Chinese Communist Party. So here people, only those who are member of the Chinese Communist Party and other 8 small parties allied with the Communist Party, Chinese Communist Party could contest the elections in 2002 and 2003. So government is always formed by the Communist Party, which is the only party in China. So there is no opposition party at all. So can we call it as a free and fair elections? Not at all. So here the thing is, elections were held after every 5 years. But the thing is, people do not have any serious choice at all. Here, let's go to the second instance, that is Mexico. So, since independence in 1930, so Mexico became the independent country in 1930. So, here Mexican holds election after every 5 years to elect after every 6 years to elect the president. Here, the country has never been under military or dictatorship. But until 2000, all elections was won by the PRI party called PRI, Institutional Revolutionary Party. Long form of PRI is Institutional Revolutionary Party. All elections till 2000, the elections which were conducted in Mexico, most of the elections, all elections were won by PRI, Institutional Revolutionary Party. So, what was the reason? So, why all the elections were won by the party called PRI? Weren't there any opposition party? Did opposition party contest the election? Opposition party did contest the election, but was not managed to win the election. So they could not manage to win the election. Why? The reason is the party, PRI party, was well known to follow the dirty tricks to win the elections. Even these things happen in democracy. All parties follow some dirty tricks to win the elections. Even in PRI, Institutional Revolutionary Party followed dirty tricks to win the election. What were the dirty tricks? So first year, all those who were employed in the government offices had to attend the party meetings. Actually, in democracy, government offices are not supposed to attend any political parties meetings. But here, PRI, party of Mexico, they force government officers to attend the party meetings. Rather than teachers in the government schools forced parents to cast their vote to PRI. So this is the thing. These are all dirty tricks that followed by the PRI. First, people, those who are employed in the government offices, they had to attend the party meetings of PRI, and teachers of government schools were they forced people to cast their vote to PRI. So next, what they did? And media largely ignored the activities of opposition parties and except criticizing them. Actually, in democracy, opposition parties have an equal role in a government. They used to guard, they are called guard dogs. So, they used to point out, they used to raise a question against the government. But here, the media largely ignored the activities of opposition political parties. The only thing they did is they criticized the opposition political party. Next, sometime PRI used to shift the polling booths place to place at the last minute. So during the elections, the PRI, the party, Institutional Revolutionary Party, used to shift the polling booths at the last moment, and by that people found it difficult to cast their vote. So these malpractices and dirty tricks were used by the PRI. And one and last and very important, the dirty tricks used by the PRI is, so PRI spent a large sum of amount on the candidates' campaign. Even this is common in democracy. Every political parties spend a huge amount on the candidates to campaign. So here, these are the by the PRI party. So now can we call the elections which conducted in China and Mexico are fair and free? Not at all. Now question arises, this is one of the very important questions in examination point of view. So here elections in China and Mexico are not free and fair. Justify the statement. So we know that the elections which were conducted in China and Mexico weren't free and fair. So why? So here the first one in China, elections do not offer any serious choice to the people. So elections do not offer the people any serious choice. So they have to choose the candidates of Chinese Communist Party or other candidates approved by it. So there is no choice, there is no opposition party at all. So candidates are directly appointed by the Communist Party, Chinese Communist Party and other 8 more allied parties. So no choice at all, no serious choice. Either they like or dislike, they have to choose the candidates which are approved by the Chinese Communist Party. In example of Mexico, here people seem to really have a choice. It seems like that people have a choice, but in practice they do not have any choices. They have no choice here. There was no way to ruling party could be defeated. Here there is no choice. Every time only ruling party has to on the elections because of the dirty tricks used by the parties in China and as well as in Mexico. So even people who are against them, they are not supposed to change the government. So here in democracy that is not possible. Even the party which is ruling, which is in power, could be defeated in the next elections. So these two instances give us a second feature of a democracy. That is, a democracy must be based on free and fair elections, where those currently in power have a fair chance to losing. So this thing we can see during the period of Atal Bihari Vajpayee, though he had given a very good government with a coalition government. So, but next he lost. Even the same thing happened during the period of Dr. Manmohan Singh. He was the Prime Minister of our country twice. So, but 2014 he lost it. Those he had continuously on the 2 elections, he lost the elections. So now presently central BJP government is ruling the country. So, but in next election they may lose the election. So that is the power of election, because elections are free and fair. But the elections which were conducted in China and Mexico weren't free and fair. So that's why with these points we can justify the statement that elections in China and Mexico are not free and fair. So now let us go with the third and very important feature of democracy: one person, one vote, and one will. So let us go with the third feature. Now let us learn third feature of the democracy: one person, one vote, one will. The struggle for the democracy was linked to the demand of a universal adult franchise. This principle has come to be accepted almost all over the world. Yet there are many instances of denial of the equal right to vote. So if you go to some example, Saudi Arabia. Until 2015, in Saudi Arabia, women did not have voting power. So the voting power was denied to women. And if you go to the next example, Estonia has made its citizen rule in such a way that people belonging to the Russian minority find it difficult to get the right to vote. And if you go to the Fiji, in Fiji, the electoral system is like that the vote of an indigenous Fiji has more value than that of an Indian Fijian. So these three examples give us the third feature of the democracy is, in a democracy each adult citizen must have one vote, and one vote, each vote must have one value. So these three incidents. So we know that the struggle of democracy is linked with the demand of a universal franchise. Though it is accepted throughout the world, there are some countries which deny the equal right to vote. For example, until 2015, Saudi Arabia, women did not have a voting power, and in Estonia, that has made such a rule, citizen rule, where Russian minority could not get the voting power. And in third, Fiji, the Fiji government has prepared or made the electoral system in such way that the vote of an indigenous Fiji has more value than that of an Indian Fiji. So these three incidents gives us a third feature of the democracy, is that in democracy each adult citizen must have one vote, and each vote must have one value. So let us go to the fourth feature of the democracy. Now let us learn about the fourth feature of the democracy: rule of law and respect for rights. Here we are going to learn these features with some examples of Zimbabwe. Zimbabwe attained the freedom from the white minorities in 1980. So since then, the country has been ruled by ZANU-PF party, which led the freedom struggle. So what is the long form of ZANU-PF? Zimbabwe African National Union Patriotic Front. The long form of ZANU-PF is Zimbabwe African National Union Patriotic Front. So its leader was Robert Mugabe. Since independence, Robert Mugabe ruled the country. Robert Mugabe was so popular, but he also used the unfair practices in elections. Here, over the year, Robert Mugabe's government changed the constitution to increase the president power. So in democracy, we know that the power of the constitution is ultimate. So one could not make the changes, amendment as per his will. Here, Robert Mugabe changed the constitution to increase his power. As we know that in our democracy, opposition parties have equal priority. But in Zimbabwe, the opposition parties' workers were harassed. They were ill-treated, they were punished, and their meetings were disrupted. Whenever they had a meeting, their meetings were interrupted. And here, public protests and demonstrations were declared illegal. So, in a democracy, each and every citizen, each and every organization has a right to protest, right to demonstrate. So, the demonstration, the protest against the government was considered illegal and declared illegal. And radio, televisions, these were under control of the government, and they telecast only about the government. So they did not criticize. And there was a law with a limited power. There was law, but did not have a right to criticize the government, or did not have a right to take any action over the government. So, but in a democracy, law is ultimate. Law controls each and everything. Here, there was a law with a limited power, and law did not have a power to criticize the government. And there were independent newspaper. But government harassed those journalists who went against the government. And even government ignored the judgment of court which against the government. government pressurized the judges to give the judgment in favor of a government. Finally, Robert Mugabe was thrown out in the year 2017. Since then, he ruled the Zimbabwe. Here, example of Zimbabwe that shows us that the popular approval of the rulers is necessary in democracy, but that is not sufficient. A popular government could be or can be undemocratic, or popular leader can be undemocratic. So, if we want to assess the government, we need to look at the elections. It's equally important that we need to look at the elections before elections and after elections. We know that every political party gives the assurance before the elections. After elections, they may forget. So it's our duty, being a citizen of a country, it's our duty we have to assess. We need to look at the elections before the elections and after the elections. So now there should be equal priority. There should be equal rules for the normal political activity, including the political opposition and in the period before the elections. Now, there should be equal variety for everything, and here this requires that the state should respect basic rights of the citizen. We have gone through in different countries, China, we have gone to Mexico, we have even in Zimbabwe. The basic rights are not protected by the state. It's a primary duty of the state to protect the rights of a citizen. So let us move to the next one now. In democracy, people should be free to think, people should be free to express their opinion and express the opinion in public, to form any organization or join any kind of political parties. Even the people, citizens are equal in the eye of government, in the eye of law. Before the law, each and every citizen is equal. And these rights, citizens have rights, different fundamental rights. And these fundamental rights are must protected by the free and independent judiciary, whose order is obeyed by each and everyone. So once the order is given by the free judiciary court, that has to be obeyed. No one has authority or right to refuse it. It doesn't mean that in a government which is elected by the people could do anything as per their wish. No, not at all. It's primary duty of a government to protect some basic rights, and it has to be the assurance for the people. So these both aspects give us the fourth feature of the democracy, that is a democratic government rules within limits set by the constitutional law and citizen rights. So we have seen that in aspects of Zimbabwe, that though it's elected by the people, the government of Robert Mugabe elected by the people, but here the law, constitutional law, did not have any power to control it. But here government was limitless. But here in democracy, the democratic government rules within the limits which set by constitutional law and citizen rights. So in today's class we have learned about